The clinking of heavy silverware against bone china echoes through Montrose's, one of those New York steakhouses where the waiters wear jackets that cost more than most people's monthly rent. I sit at the head of a table for 8, watching the waiter pour a Cabernet that will add another $300 to what will inevitably be my tab. My father, Arthur, swirls his wine with the practiced air of a man who believes he deserves nothing less than the finest things in life. At 60, his silver hair is still thick, his Brooks Brothers suit still fits, and his confidence remains utterly unshaken by the fact that he hasn't earned a paycheck in 5 years. "How's the market treating you, Adrian?" he asks. Not because he cares about my answer, but because he's thinking about his mortgage payment. "It's fine," I reply, the words clipped. I've been a senior investment analyst long enough to know that "how's the market" is code for "when's my next check?" My mother, Eleanor, sits beside him, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light as she reaches for her water. At 58, she's still beautiful in that country club way, blonde highlights refreshed every 6 weeks, skin smooth from whatever procedure she had last month. "Adrian, darling," she says, her voice warm but her eyes calculating. "Did I mention Chloe and Spencer finally found the perfect venue? And there it is, the real reason for this dinner." My sister Chloe beams from across the table, her engagement ring 3 carats, because Spencer Davenport III doesn't do anything small sparkling under the chandelier. At 25, she's the family beauty, the one whose success is measured in the pedigree of her husband-to-be, rather than her own accomplishments. "It's this gorgeous resort in Tuscany," Chloe gushes, her voice rising an octave. "16th century villa, vineyard views, private chef, it's absolutely perfect." Spencer, tall and bland as white bread with money, nods along. He has that look of someone born into enough wealth to never need to develop a personality. My brother Julian and his wife Maya exchange glances. At 32, Julian's always been the family's quiet one, the free spirit who escaped the family's expectations by becoming a teacher. Maya squeezes his hand under the table. My Aunt Beatrice sips her martini, watching the show with the detached interest of someone who's seen this play before. "The resort is divine," my mother continues, steering the conversation with the precision of a neurosurgeon. "They just need the $15,000 deposit to hold the date." She pauses, her smile never wavering. "I'll send you the wire info." The table falls silent, all eyes on me. I take a careful sip of water, feeling the weight of their expectations pressing against my chest. "Actually," I say, my voice steadier than I feel, "I can't swing $15,000 right now. I'm trying to build my own emergency fund." The silence that follows is absolute. Spencer suddenly finds his napkin fascinating. Julian's eyebrows shoot up. Even the waiter, approaching with bread, pivots, and retreats. My father breaks the silence with a short, barking laugh. "Savings?" he says, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "Your job is to earn." He leans forward, his voice dropping to a register that has always made my stomach clench. How does it feel to be the only useless ATM here? The table, minus Julian and Maya, erupts in chuckles, as if my father has said something witty instead of cruel. I freeze, the laughter hitting me like physical blows. Suddenly, I'm 10 years old again, sitting at the dining room table as my mother lays out our family roles like tarot cards. "Julian is the free spirit," she says, ruffling my brother's hair. "Chloe is the beauty." A kiss on my sister's cheek. Then, turning to me, "But you, Adrian, you're the smart one. You are our retirement plan." The memory shifts, dissolves. Now I'm 24, a junior analyst still paying off student loans. My phone rings. It's my mother, but her voice is different, weak, frightened. "Adrienne?" she whispers, and I can hear hospital sounds in the background. A doctor's voice. "If we lose this house, the stress will kill me. My life is in your hands." That night, I agreed to cover their mortgage, temporarily. That was 5 years ago. The flashback fades. The laughter at the table continues, but something inside me, worn thin over 5 years and sharpened by 3 months of therapy, finally breaks. I smile. It's not my usual smile, the one that says I'll handle everything. It's something colder, harder. "You're right, Dad," I say, placing my fork down. "A useless ATM should be out of service." The laughter stops. My mother's face tightens. "Adrian, don't be dramatic. You're embarrassing us." I've never been more serious. I pull out my phone, my fingers moving across the screen with calm precision. The family watches, horrified. Let's see. First, I'm canceling the $4,000 mortgage payment scheduled for Monday. Done. I tap again. Next, I'm blocking both of your numbers from my Zelle and Venmo. Done. My mother's face drains of color. My father's does the opposite, flushing a dangerous shade of red. I throw my corporate card on the table. This will cover my meal and a glass of wine. The rest of you are on your own. My father stands, his napkin falling to the floor. You ungrateful, after everything we've done for you. I stand too, suddenly taller than I've ever felt. What have you done? I paid for my own Ivy League education. I'm paying for your mortgage. I look at each stunned face around the table. I'm done. I walk out, feeling eyes from every table following me. The silence in the restaurant is complete, broken only by the soft tap of my heels against marble. Outside, the night air hits me like freedom. For the first time in 5 years, I can breathe. The Uber lurches through Manhattan traffic as my phone vibrates itself to death in my hand. The screen flashes like a slot machine hitting jackpot, only I've won nothing but confirmation that I've kicked a hornet's nest. Eleanor. You'll kill me. Is that what you want? Call me now. Arthur. You will fix this. This childish tantrum stops today. Chloe. You've ruined everything. The venue won't hold without the deposit. My hands shake so badly I nearly drop the phone. A hot, sick feeling spreads from my stomach to my limbs. I've never defied them like this, not once in 29 years. The messages blur as tears threaten, but I blink them back. I won't reply. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Then another notification appears, from an unexpected source. Julian, are you okay? That was incredible. I stare at the screen, reading his words over and over. My brother has never sided with me against our parents. Never. He's always been the quiet one, the one who escaped by becoming invisible. And yet here, in 6 simple words, is the first support I've ever felt from my family. Something small and warm unfurls in my chest, a fragile thing but stronger than the panic that's been choking me. The next morning, I call in sick to work. Not a lie, the thought of pretending everything is normal while fielding frantic calls from Eleanor makes bile rise in my throat. Instead, I shower, dress in jeans, and a sweater. Not the tailored blazer and slacks, Arthur once told me, made me look the part of family provider. And head downtown to my financial advisor's office. Mark Wilson has handled my investments since my first bonus check. He's never questioned the steady outflow of funds to accounts with the Holloway name, never suggested I might be overextending myself. When I enter his office now, his expression shifts from professional welcome to concern. Adrian, what's going on? Your message said it was urgent. I need a complete audit. My voice is steadier than I expected. Every dollar that's left my accounts in the last 5 years. I need to see the damage. 2 hours later, we have a number. Mark turns his computer screen toward me, a spreadsheet with row after row of transactions, each one color-coded by recipient. The total glows at the bottom of the page like a malignant tumor. $350,000, not including the little gifts I've bought them over the years. Not counting the expensive dinners I've treated them to. Not including the loans I'll never see again. $350,000, I whisper, feeling the numbers scrape my throat raw. The sick feeling returns, but alongside it comes a strange vindication. I wasn't crazy. The vague unease that's been growing for years wasn't paranoia, it was survival instinct. But Mark isn't finished. He leans forward, his usual professional detachment cracking. The number is bad, Adrienne, but this is worse. He turns his screen again, clicking to a new tab. I pulled your full credit report. The page shows 3 active credit cards and a personal loan I've never seen before. All opened 2 years ago. All mailed to my parents' 5-bedroom estate in Westchester. The balance on each hovers near its limit. The total fraudulent debt, taken out in my name with my social security number, $60,000. The room tilts slightly. My fingernails dig into my palms. They committed identity theft? Mark says, his voice gentle but firm. This isn't just family taking advantage, Adrian. This is criminal fraud. The realization crashes over me in a wave. It wasn't just exploitation. It was identity theft. It was a crime. The sacrifices my parents always mentioned were mine, and the obligation I felt was a one-way street. In that moment, my father's face rises in my mind, Arthur, the former executive, who couldn't possibly take an $80,000 job because it was beneath him. Arthur, who somehow knew enough about credit applications and verification processes to open accounts in my name without me noticing. Arthur, whose ego couldn't stand a step down the socio-economic ladder, but whose moral compass apparently had no issue with committing felony fraud, and beside him, in my mind, stands Eleanor. My mother, with her convenient health crises that always seemed to flare up when I questioned a payment. The emotional weapon, perfectly calibrated to keep me distracted, guilty, and compliant, while Arthur siphoned away, not just my current earnings, but my future as well. The panic I felt leaving the restaurant last night is gone now, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. This is no longer a family dispute. It's a legal matter. I think of my therapist, the one I've been seeing for 3 months. The one who first used the word abuse to describe my family's behavior, making me flinch and argue that they just needed help. I pull out my phone and dial her office. Dr. Hammond? It's Adrian Vance. I need a referral. For a financial litigation lawyer. A tough one. She doesn't ask questions, just gives me a name. Cynthia Blackwell, notorious for her scorched earth approach to financial crimes. I hang up and immediately make an appointment for tomorrow morning. For the rest of the day, I sit in my apartment, methodically calling credit bureaus and fraud departments. With each call, each report filed, each account frozen, I feel stronger, more certain. My phone continues to vibrate, but the tone of the messages shifts as the day progresses. The initial anger gives way to confusion, then to panic. Arthur, what have you done? The card was just declined. Eleanor, the bank called about the mortgage. Call me now. I don't respond. I don't need to. For the first time in my adult life, I'm not running from my family's demands. I'm standing my ground. This isn't just about escape anymore. It's about resistance. Monday comes and goes. With it, the mortgage payment deadline. My phone buzzes incessantly, the screen lighting up with my parents' names until I finally silence it completely. The quiet lasts exactly 12 minutes before they switch tactics. Voicemails pile up. I play the first one while making coffee, Eleanor's voice wavering with practiced fragility. Adrian, please. She sobs. The bank is calling. They're threatening foreclosure notices. Please call me back. Delete. The second message comes an hour later, her tone shifting. After all the sacrifices I made for you, carrying you for 9 months, choosing your schools, giving up my career. This is how you repay that? Delete. By afternoon, the messages turn dark. You are tearing this family apart. Your father can't sleep. I can't eat. Is that what you want? To destroy us? I set my phone down, surprised by my own calm. In the past, these messages would have sent me into a spiral of guilt and panic. Now they sound like what they are, the desperate flailing of people who've lost their grip on their favorite puppet. My therapist calls this progress. I call it clarity. The buzzer to my apartment sounds at 7:14 p.m. I check the security feed on my phone, expecting a food delivery. Instead, I see my father's face, contorted with rage as he jabs the button again and again. I watch, transfixed, as Arthur screams at my doorman, his suit jacket rumpled, his silver hair standing on end. I need to see my daughter. Now. This is a family emergency. The doorman, Hector, remains impassive. Sir, if Miss Vance wanted to see you, she would have authorized your entry. Do you know who I am? Arthur's face flushes darker. I'm paying for this building. My money bought this place. I watch Hector's expression shift from polite to cold. Sir, I need you to leave the premises immediately, or I will call the police. Arthur takes a step toward him, finger pointed like a weapon. You listen to me, you little... That's enough. Hector reaches for the phone. I'm calling the police now. The threat of police involvement deflates my father instantly. His shoulders sag. He runs a hand through his disheveled hair, suddenly remembering he's Arthur Holloway, respected community member, not some common criminal. Fine, he mutters. Just tell her I was here. He leaves, but 20 minutes later, a folded piece of paper slides under my door. I pick it up, recognizing my father's aggressive handwriting, the pen having nearly torn through the paper in places. You owe us. Fix this. Just 4 words. Not, I love you, or let's talk this out, or even, I'm sorry. Just a demand, underlined 3 times, the entitlement radiating from the page. I place it carefully in a folder marked Evidence. My phone chimes with a text. Chloe, right on cue. Addie, Mom is having heart palpitations. She's so worried. The doctor says it's stress-induced. Can you please just pay it? I'm so scared for her health. The familiar knot forms in my stomach, my sister's specialty, the guilt bomb. 3 months ago, this message would have sent me running for my laptop, ready to make the transfer while apologizing for causing such distress. Instead, I remember the $60,000 in fraudulent debt, the credit cards opened in my name, the loans I never saw. I feel nothing but disgust at the coordinated attack. I text back a single word, no. Then I block her number too. Wednesday morning, I call my therapist. Doctor, Lillian Fisher has been seeing me for 3 months, not long in therapy terms, but long enough to recognize an emergency. I can fit you in at noon, she says, hearing something in my voice. Her office smells of leather and Earl Grey tea. I sit in the worn armchair, recounting the events of the past 48 hours. I expect to cry. I've always cried in this room, talking about my family. But today, there are no tears, just cold, hard anger. They stole from me, I say, my voice steady. They manipulated me, and now they're trying to use the same tactics to force me back into line. Dr. Fisher nods. What's different this time? I see it now. All of it. The patterns, the manipulation, the lies. She smiles, not with joy but with recognition. You weren't a victim, Adrian. You were a survivor of a long-term emotional siege. Now, you're a strategist. Strategist. The word feels right, like armor. So what does a strategist do next? I ask. She prepares her battlefield. Thursday morning, I meet my new lawyer. Martin Cohen's office is nothing like the plush, wood-paneled spaces I imagined. It's stark, utilitarian, and absolutely packed with files. His handshake is firm, his gaze direct. Let me understand, he says, reviewing the notes from my financial advisor. Your parents have been systematically draining your accounts for 5 years, to the tune of $350,000. Yes. And now we've discovered $60,000 in fraudulent debt taken out in your name. Yes. He removes his glasses, polishing them slowly. Miss Vance, I've been practicing law for 27 years. I've seen a lot of financial abuse cases. He puts his glasses back on, his eyes magnified and serious. This is our leverage. This is everything. For the next week, I become a document archaeologist. I dig through 5 years of financial records. I get sworn affidavits from my financial advisor, documenting the steady drain on my accounts. I pull every bank statement, highlighting the transfers: $4,000 here, $15,000 there, death by 1,000 cuts. I save the voicemails. I print the texts from Chloe. I screenshot the security footage of my father threatening my doorman. Each piece of evidence makes me stronger. Each record strips away another layer of guilt. By the following Wednesday, I have a file 3 inches thick documenting 5 years of systematic financial and emotional abuse, culminating in a felony. I am ready. I sit in Martin Cohen's office, my hands steady as I dial my parents' number. The call is on speakerphone and being recorded, with Martin sitting silently across from me. My mother answers on the first ring. Adrian? Oh, thank God. Mom, Dad, I've reviewed my finances. I'm willing to have one meeting to discuss this. The relief in Eleanor's voice is palpable. Oh, thank goodness, Addie. We knew you'd do the right thing. Your father found a lovely Italian restaurant for... It won't be at a restaurant. My voice is cool, professional. It will be at my lawyer's office, tomorrow. 10 a.m. Be there. I hang up before she can respond. The silence on the other end was a perfect, sudden void. Martin nods. Just once. Well done. The power has shifted. They know they've lost control. The next morning, Martin and I sit in a sterile conference room. The clock on the wall reads 9:57 a.m. My case file sits between us, neatly labeled and organized. At precisely 10 a.m., his assistant opens the door. Arthur and Eleanor walk in, looking annoyed and entitled. Eleanor wears her pearl necklace, her armor for difficult social situations. Arthur's suit is freshly pressed, his posture rigid with indignation. They sit down across from us, clearly expecting to browbeat their daughter back into submission. They have no idea what's waiting for them. All right, Adrienne. My father begins, his voice carrying that familiar note of authority that once made me shrink. This little tantrum has gone on long enough. We're willing to accept your apology and… Mr. and Mrs. Holloway, Richard interrupts, his voice cool and professional. This is not a negotiation. We're here to inform you of your options. He slides a file across the table. This is a copy of a police report we have already filed with the NYPD for identity theft. My mother's hand freezes halfway to the folder. It details $60,000 in fraudulent credit cards and loans opened in your daughter's name. Richard continues. We have the statements, the applications, and the IP logs. I watch their faces transform. My mother's skin turns the color of chalk, her fingers clutching her designer purse like a life preserver. My father's complexion does the opposite, flushing a dangerous shade of purple that climbs from his collar to his hairline. How dare you! My father slams his fist against the table, making the water glasses jump. This is a family matter. You'd send your own parents to jail over a misunderstanding? My mother's eyes fill with tears. Not the delicate, dignified kind she displays at country club functions, but the messy, desperate kind that smear her mascara. Adrian, how could you? Her voice breaks, her hands reaching across the table. I pull mine back. After all the sacrifices we made, we just needed a little help. You have so much. It was your obligation. There it is. The guilt bomb. The emotional nuclear option my therapist prepared me for. The weapon they've deployed countless times over the years whenever I showed the slightest resistance. I sit perfectly still, my hands folded in my lap. I watch my mother's performance, the trembling lip, the heaving shoulders, and search for the familiar ache in my chest, the crushing weight of responsibility that's been my constant companion. And find… nothing. Not anger, not hurt, just a vast, cool emptiness where the guilt used to live. I turn to my lawyer and nod once. Richard continues as if they hadn't spoken, his voice as calm as if we were discussing the weather. As I said, the report is filed. This is a non-negotiable step required by the credit bureaus to clear Adrian's name. The DA is very interested. My father's face twists with rage. I recognize the expression, the same one he wore when I announced I wouldn't be paying for Chloe's car insurance anymore. The look that once sent me scrambling to appease him. However, Richard says, removing another document from his portfolio, Adrian has spoken with the district attorney. She will advocate for probation instead of jail time. My mother looks up, hope flickering across her tear-stained face. On one condition. Richard slides the second document forward. You agree to full, immediate restitution of the $60,000. My father barks a laugh, sharp and bitter. We don't have $60,000. You know that. Which is why, Richard says, sliding over a second set of documents, you will be putting your 5-bedroom home on the market. Today. The sale will be handled by an escrow company we've selected to ensure the $60,000 is paid directly to the creditors. The silence that follows is absolute. I watch the truth settle over them like ash. They are trapped. It's either sign the papers or face a felony conviction. Their family matter has become a legal execution. My father's hands, the same hands that once ruffled my hair when I brought home straight A's, the same hands that signed loan applications in my name, begin to tremble. My mother's shoulders slump, the fight draining out of her like air from a punctured balloon. You can't be serious, my father says, but the bluster is gone. His voice sounds old suddenly, hollow. Your daughter is deadly serious, Richard replies. Sign the papers, or the DA moves forward with charges. Your choice. My mother looks at me, really looks at me, perhaps for the first time in years. Not as the retirement plan, not as the ATM, but as a person with boundaries she's violated. How will we live? She whispers. The words should sting. They should activate the caretaker programming buried deep in my DNA. But I think of the $350,000 I've already given them. I think of the lies, the manipulation, the identity theft. I think of 5 years of my life spent working 60-hour weeks to maintain their lifestyle while neglecting my own future. That, I say, my voice soft but steady, is not my problem anymore. My father's jaw works, his pride warring with his self-preservation. Finally, he reaches for the pen Richard offers. This isn't over, he mutters as he signs. But we both know it is. As his pen scratches across the paper, I feel something in my chest loosen a knot I've carried for so long I'd forgotten it wasn't part of me. The meeting ends quickly after that. No tearful goodbyes, no promises to stay in touch, just the cold efficiency of paperwork being processed, of boundaries being erected. Outside the office, standing on the sidewalk in the bright New York morning, I take a breath that feels different than any I've taken in 5 years. Lighter, cleaner, my phone buzzes in my purse. A text from Julian. How did it go? I look at the screen for a moment, then type, "It's done. I'm free." The Holloway's pristine white 5-bedroom colonial hits the market on a Tuesday next week. By Wednesday afternoon, the listing has 37 saves and 12 showing requests. By Thursday morning, their friends are texting. Downsizing? Asks the country club president's wife. Retirement property in Florida? Suggests Eleanor's bridge partner. My mother doesn't answer any of them. For the first time in her 58 years, Eleanor Holloway has nothing to say. The shame of it silences her more effectively than any argument ever could. I watch it all from a distance, not with joy, but with a cold, steady clarity. The weight I've carried for 5 years has lifted. My shoulders straighten a little more each day, my breathing deepens. My therapist calls it reclaiming your power. I call it survival. Julian calls me on Friday night. It's like watching a meteor hit, he says, his voice low, as if Arthur might overhear him even though he's calling from his own home. Mom hasn't left her bedroom in 3 days. Dad just sits in his study drinking scotch. Are they asking you for money yet? I ask, running my finger along the edge of my kitchen counter. The pause tells me everything. They tried, he finally admits. I said no. I smile. She nods, grateful. Later, as she sleeps on my couch, I stand at my window watching the city lights. I think about how parents are supposed to protect their children, not use them as collateral. 2 weeks later, I receive an email from the escrow company. The sale of the Holloway's estate is complete. The $60,000 in fraudulent debt has been paid in full. My credit score has already jumped 47 points. My lawyer calls to inform me that Arthur and Eleanor have been forced to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in a building with no doorman, no elevator, and no prestige. The remaining money from the sale after the mortgage payoff and my restitution barely covered their security deposit. They didn't even look at me when they signed the papers. I tell my therapist later that week. Not once. How did that make you feel? She asks. Nothing, I reply. I felt nothing at all. 3 months pass. Chloe moves to Boston for a fresh start. Julian and Maya have me over for dinner twice a month. I cook more. I sleep better. I date a little. I breathe. Then, on a Tuesday evening as I'm reviewing quarterly projections, my phone rings. Unknown number. I almost ignore it, but something makes me answer. Adrian, my father's voice. Smaller, older. It's your dad. I say nothing. We're having trouble with the deposit on the new apartment, he says, a tremor in his voice. I just thought, maybe. 5 years ago, those words would have sent me scrambling for my laptop, ready to transfer whatever sum was needed to maintain the peace. That is not my problem, I say, my voice steady. A long pause. I can hear him breathing. Adrian, please. I end the call without another word. I feel no guilt, no lingering obligation, just a quiet, certain freedom. I block the number without a second thought and turn back to my laptop. The spreadsheet open on the screen has a new title, Condo Down Payments. I'm looking at 2 bedrooms with views of Central Park. The useless daughter has become the only one who escaped. 18 months later, morning sunlight streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, painting golden rectangles across hardwood floors. I stand in my new 2-bedroom condo overlooking Central Park, coffee mug warm in my hands. The view still stops me in my tracks sometimes, a living, breathing tapestry of green amid Manhattan's concrete and steel. My phone pings with a calendar reminder. Housewarming party, 7 p.m. I smile. The $60,000 in restitution, made for a perfect down payment on this place. Justice with a view. Last week, I ran into Spencer at a financial conference. He mentioned seeing Arthur stocking shelves at Kroger, eyes down, shoulders hunched. His criminal record for fraud made him permanently unemployable in the financial sector. Eleanor works as a part-time cashier at the same store. Her social circle vanished like morning fog. The mighty Holloways, brought low by their own greed. I don't feel the satisfaction I once imagined. Just peace. The doorbell rings at 6:58 p.m. Julian and Maya arrive first, arms loaded with grocery bags. "We're making the drinks," Julian announces, kissing my cheek. My brother moves through my kitchen with easy familiarity, pulling out bottles and glasses. Maya arranges a platter of appetizers. "Your place looks amazing, Adri." The condo fills quickly. My therapist brings homemade bread. My financial advisor arrives with his husband, both admiring the view. Former colleagues, new friends. Warmth and laughter replace the tense, performative dinners of my past. This isn't an obligation disguised as celebration. This is mine. The doorbell rings again at 8:15. I open the door to find Chloe standing there, hands clutching a brown paper bag. She looks smaller somehow, her designer clothes replaced by jeans and a simple sweater. The perfect blowout is gone, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. "Adrian," she says, her voice barely audible above the party noise. I'm in therapy. I'm working at a coffee shop. I am so sorry for everything." She holds out the bag. Inside is a bottle of wine. $15 according to the price tag she forgot to remove. The symmetry isn't lost on me. $15 for a bottle instead of $15,000 for a deposit. The old Adrian would have rushed to comfort her, to say it was all okay, to erase her discomfort at the expense of my own, the caretaker, the fixer, the retirement plan. I study my sister's face, seeing not my mother's pawn but Chloe herself, humbled, human. "Thank you for coming, Chloe," I say simply, stepping aside to let her in. It's not absolution. It's not instant forgiveness. It's a door, barely open, on my terms. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I glance at the screen. An email from my mother. I delete it without reading. My parents were not invited. Later, when the noise inside grows too loud, I step onto the balcony. The park stretches below, streetlights tracing its paths like strings of pearls. Behind me, glasses clink, and laughter rises. Julian tells a story that makes everyone howl. Chloe sits quietly in a corner, talking with Maya. I take a sip of wine and feel the cool air on my face. For 29 years, I lived as someone's investment, someone's safety net, someone's ATM. Standing here, watching the city lights shimmer against the darkening sky, I am none of those things. I am just Adrian, and I am free.